Ladies and gentlemen, happy Thanksgiving. If you're here with us, I'm glad you are joining us this morning. We wanted to get some key information out to you guys because do you ever get tired of going to your family Thanksgiving and your aunts and uncles or your parents and your grandparents talking college football and acting like they know more than you? Well, if so, it's a good thing you're with us this morning because we're going to give you all the information you need to pack their lunch for Thanksgiving this year and give them all the college information that you can provide. So that's why we're here this morning, Bryant, Dave, and myself, and we're going to talk a little bit of some playoff conversation, some tiebreaker conversation, and then we're going to move into the big games that have playoff implications this weekend and a couple quickies for you before we get out of here. But first, Bryant, Dave, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to all those who are listening with us this morning. And gentlemen, it is also the last regular season week of college football. It's the last time we're going to see all the teams on the field this week. As crazy as that sounds, as crazy as this season has been, we're all the way at the end, fellas. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I'm a little upset about it.
Yeah, the season has flown by.
Here we go again to waiting for college football for a couple months again after the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not about that. Brian, what were you saying?
I said, yeah, it's crazy how fast this season has gone. It feels like just a few days ago we were talking about our, future picks and stuff like that, and now here we are talking about playoffs, and we have 1 week left, like you mentioned, on the regular season.
Yeah, I just we look so forward to this every year, right? And then you kind of get in the middle of the season, and we're kind of like, okay, we're kind of like in this like routine. It's kind of like not, you can't say boring, but like it's just like you get so used to it and get like in a groove that you kind of lose track of time. And then we wake up, and next thing you know, it's Thanksgiving, and holy shit, the season's all the way at the end. So we're here. This has been arguably one of the best seasons I can remember in a long time. So it's lit up to the hype. NIL's making it fantastic. And obviously, once it kind of does slow down a little bit and we have those long gaps between those playoff and bowl games, we're going to do some serious playoff conversation episodes all the time. We'll have some bowl episodes like we did last year. And then we're going to have to spend tons and tons of time on what's going on with all the coaching situations. So we'll dive into that as well. But, hey, let's get right into this thing real quick. And Brian definitely has a good special for us this week, and he is going to dive into some playoff and tiebreaker conversation. So, Brian, I'm going to kick it over to you, man. Lead us off.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about each Power 4 conference and their playoff scenarios or conversations that are happening right now after the Week 13 rankings came out on Tuesday. I forgot to put in the Group of 5 in here, but I'll mention it at the end here, and it's pretty much down to 2 teams at this point, I feel like, so we'll talk about that here when we're done with the Power 4. But first, let's talk about the SEC. So I kind of have this listed out as solid, on the fence, and likely out. So that's how each of these conferences are going to be broken down. So in the SEC, solid, we have Georgia, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and A&M. I think you could put Oklahoma in maybe on the fence, but they kind of have their own destiny. Who did they play this week? It's not Texas. They play I can't remember.
Oklahoma? Yeah, they do what?
Didn't write that down on this. Check and see who they play. I don't think it's a really. Oh, it's LSU. So Oklahoma takes care of LSU. I think they're in. So they're kind of on the fence, kind of not. On the fence in the SEC, we have Alabama. Pretty much, I feel like their path here is they have to win the Iron Bowl and then make an SEC championship and probably win it. Because if they don't win the SEC championship, they're a 3-loss team, and I feel like the committee will probably put somebody else in over them. That's the kind of situation that always comes up: is if I play in a conference championship game, is it going to hurt me if I lose? That's going to be the biggest conversation in the SEC is Alabama. For first, they got to win the Iron Bowl. Anything can happen in that game, no matter how good or bad each team is. But if they make the SEC championship and they beat Auburn, which I think they'll make the championship, then we'll have the conversation. If they don't win, what happens? That's going to be good to see.
So real quick before we go on to the out, let's just talk a little bit about this Alabama situation, because for the most part, this whole entire season they were in. I mean, the only time that we thought that they weren't in was maybe the first week or two after they lost to Florida State, and then they looked like one of the best teams in the country all the way through most of the season, and then they kind of get their shit pushed in by Oklahoma again, which was crazy, and that's when you see Oklahoma kind of take this over. I do think, Bryant, there's a real scenario where if Alabama wins the Iron Bowl and Georgia, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, and A&M all take care of business this week too, I think there's a real case where we could possibly see 5 teams in the SEC get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
No way. You think so? I just think 5 from the SEC. Like, I feel like people already bitch about 4. I feel like if they have 5, like, it's just gonna be like, I don't think the committee wants to deal with like having to explain why they have 5 SEC teams. And again, Alabama hasn't been amazing to where you really have to put them in there.
I still think at some point though, the Big Ten or the SEC one will get 5 teams in. Like, I think that's very possible.
And this is, I think, of season you could definitely see it because the ACC is probably only going to get 1 team in, and then outside of the Big Ten, outside of the Big Ten, you only have outside of the Big Ten. There's only 1 solid team in the Big 12, in my opinion, and there's really no solid team in the ACC. So, if there's going to be a season where you see 5, this is it.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at, because let's say you see 5 from the SEC, 4 from the Big Ten, that's 9. Then you get 1 Big 12, 1 ACC, that's 11, and then you get your G5. That's 12.
Yes. So
it's gonna happen.
It's gonna be a weird dynamic of that having 5 from 1 conference, and also if Alabama does make the championship and lose, what that the committee puts, the weight they put on that. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Moving on, and out in the SEC, most of the rest of the SEC is officially out, but there's 1 team that is likely out, could possibly still get in, and that's Vanderbilt. But they need some help. They need to win in Tennessee, which that isn't a given. But they need major help outside of the conference. They need a Miami loss. They need Oklahoma to lose out. They need Alabama to lose out. So it's possible, but highly unlikely. But there's still a mathematical chance that they get there. Anything on the SEC?
No, I think what I wanted to talk about the SEC was just the fact that they could get 5 teams to it. So, and we touched on that already. I don't think that Vanderbilt is going to get this done. Not just saying that because we kind of ride Vanderbilt's ass all the time just because of Dave, but I really do think that Vanderbilt's in trouble, and I do think they're definitely on the outside looking in. I would place a wager today that Alabama gets into the playoffs.
Yeah. That's probably decent odds right now. I don't remember what they were on Monday when we talked about it, but
I had a graphic made for all of this, and StreamYard's being goofy today and won't let us upload any of our graphics. So if you're with us on YouTube, you're just going to see the 3 of us and how good we look this morning. You're not going to get any of our graphics that we put together, unfortunately. But I'll pull that up right now, Brian, and check that while you talk about the Big Ten.
Okay, so we'll hop over to the Big Ten. Solidly in is Indiana and Ohio State. I don't think there's any conversation that either one of those teams missed the playoffs. So on the fence is Oregon. That might seem a little bit weird to some people. I'd say they're more on the solid side of this conversation, but they still need a Washington win, which that's always a close game, no matter who's good or bad in that rivalry. But they're likely not going to reach the title game, so they won't have a chance to boost their resume there. So I think they still get in with an at-large, but as it sits right now, they're still kind of on the fence a little bit, but probably more likely to get in than not. And then on the likely out spot here in the Big Ten is Michigan. They're still alive, but they need to beat Ohio State in the game tomorrow and see what the cookie crumbles outside of that. Because outside of the OSU win, if they get it, they're going to need Indiana or Oregon loss. Then they would probably actually still make the championship. If Indiana and Oregon lose, Michigan would be in the Big Ten championship game, and they would have to win it then too. So they need a lot of dominoes to fall their way, but they're still alive.
So I looked up the odds. Alabama is minus 200 to make the playoffs. So they have 5 SEC teams making the playoffs. What we forgot about a second ago was Notre Dame. That's going to happen too.
Correct.
So that will probably be the reason that the Big Ten only gets 3 in. And that's the way it's shaping up. That's what you have right here in your notes, what you just presented to everybody listening, is that it's Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, and that's most likely it from the Big Ten. Unless Alabama loses and somehow a Michigan does beat an Ohio State, and then you're going to see Michigan get in, and then you're going to see the Big Ten get 4 teams in. What's a shame is that we really were high on Washington and talked about them early on in the season and in preseason about how we thought they could take that next step and find the playoffs. And you erase a bad Wisconsin loss and play a little bit more competitive in their bigger games, and they could very well be in this conversation today that we're having right now. They just, every time the moment was big, they just shit down both legs.
Yeah. It feels very similar to almost like the Mizzou situation where they're a solid team. I think we were higher on them than most people around the country were. And they have not played bad football. They just haven't really shown up when the going was getting tough for them. They needed a big statement. So
I think
they're still having a good season.
Yeah,
still having a good season. But we thought this might have been a season they could springboard up a little bit and be in this conversation. But they're for sure out of this conversation at least.
Yeah, and I think the Big Ten, to your point, is pretty solidified on what's going to come of it. I think this is pretty well shaped up already.
The only wrench that gets thrown in here is if Michigan beats Ohio State and then Indiana or Oregon loses, and then there's a whole whirlwind of thing that happens. Part of me wants to see that happen, but I don't think it will.
Oh, I want to see it happen. Michigan's currently plus 350 to make the playoffs, so that's probably due to the fact, like you said, that they play Ohio State, and Ohio State does not let them beat them 5 times in a row. So,
absolutely. Let's see here. So Big 12, we got one solid team, and that is Texas Tech, unless something catastrophic happens. It's looking like I think they'll get the win this week and probably play BYU in the championship game. But even if they lose that game, they still have a dominant win over that same BYU team during the season. So I don't see any scenario where Texas Tech does not get in. On the fence, there's a bunch of teams here. Outside of these teams I'm going to talk about, there's really not any other team in the Big 12 that's in conversation. So first is BYU. They need to beat UCF this week in the championship and then go to the championship and probably win that game. If they don't, I don't think they're in unless there's some massive upsets above them in the rankings. Arizona State. They need to beat Arizona this week. They need a BYU win or loss. They need a Texas Tech loss, Utah loss, and then win the Big 12. So a lot of help is needed there.
They need a Hail Mary.
Need a Hail Mary. Utah, kind of in the same situation. They need to beat Kansas this week. They need a BYU win, Arizona State win, Texas Tech loss, and then a Big 12 championship. So you see a lot of these teams on the fence, it seems like, in every one of these Power 4 conferences where they almost need to have a bunch happen in their favor and then also win the championship game. So a lot needs to happen for the BYUs, the Utahs, the Arizona States of the world, especially in this Big 12.
So looking at this, Texas Tech's odds are off the board. You can no longer bet on Texas Tech to make the playoffs, probably because they're too heavy of a favorite, and it's almost a guaranteed lock at this point. Obviously, like Bryant said, the next on DraftKings' odds is BYU at plus 240. So there is a chance there, but like Bryant just laid it out for you. And Brian, you did a great job with this, man. You laid it all out on every team that you've covered so far and what they have to have happen for them to make the playoffs. And they need quite a bit. So I think this one team from the Big 12. Aaron came in here, said Dave looking like he already hit the turkey and is ready for a nap.
Paul.
Early. Dave's used to that Eastern time, which I guess would be 9:14 for him. So yeah, he should be alive and well. But yeah, once again, too, if you guys are just joining us, we had graphics made. StreamYard won't let us load them.
I feel like Dave's one of those guys that watches the Macy's parade.
Oh, yeah.
I do love the Macy's parade. I do love the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade.
He's probably sad he's missing it right now. I think it's on right now.
Yeah, he's watching the Radio City Rockettes dance out and jamming to the little bit of music they have. Stopping in front of the store.
That's awesome. Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, too, to everybody that's joining us now as well. Thanks for joining us this morning on Thanksgiving. Like we said, hey, this is where you're going to get all your information so you can pack your uncle's lunch at your Thanksgiving today with all the latest and greatest details. All right, Brian, so the last conference that we want to talk about here, ACC.
Yes. So I got a funny note on here. It has a adult word in it, but yeah. I have a good word I can say on the podcast that kind of says how the ACC is, at least as the playoff conversation. This conference is FUBAR. If you don't know what that is, you go look it up. But there are no solid teams in the ACC, and it's really weird because Miami is the highest ranked in the playoff rankings, but they're likely not going to make the ACC championship game. So that's why this conversation is so wild. But I'll start off the top here and go off based on what is set in stone right now, who has the best chance to make it, at least with a chance to go to the championship game and then win it and get in. So SMU currently has the highest odds in the conference to make the championship game. All they need is a Cal win and the title to make the playoffs. So it's up to them there. Virginia, they need to beat Virginia Tech this week and then go to the title game and win. So right now, SMU and Virginia are the two teams, if they win this week, going to make the ACC title game. So that's why I said it's kind of weird because Miami's higher ranked on the playoffs, but they're not going to have the chance to win that title game and get in for sure if SMU or Virginia doesn't mess up this week. So entirely possible. SMU's been up and down this week, playing a good Cal team, and that Virginia Tech-Virginia matchup is always wild too. So it's rivalry week. Anything can happen. Yeah. So next, I will move to Miami. They need to beat Pitt this week, which Pitt's a very good team. That's not a gimme game whatsoever, and have some help. But personally, I think they have the best resume in the ACC. That's probably why they're ranked the highest in the rankings. But we'll only get in with an at-large bid at this point, unless something wild happens, like I mentioned, and then they'll get in an at-large bid. So Miami's kind of the catalyst here. That's the interesting conversation. I think that's where the Notre Dame conversation kind of comes in a little bit with another team trying to get in is in the ACC because Miami beat them. So we'll see. Next on the list, still alive, is Pitt. They need Miami win, an SMU win or loss, Virginia win or loss, and an ACC title appearance and win. So a lot of help needed for them, but it's still possible. Seems like they've been playing their best football as of late. So I think Pitt has a sneaky chance to get in there, but like I said, need a lot of dominoes to fall. Next on the list is Duke, technically still alive. They need to beat Wake Forest. They need Pitt to lose. They need SMU to lose. They need Virginia to lose, and then they need to win the ACC title game. So a lot there for Duke, but technically still alive. And this is kind of funny. Technically, Georgia Tech is still alive, but the list was so long on what they needed that it almost seems not even entirely possible to happen, and kind of a long conversation to talk about. But Georgia Tech needs like 6 losses and then an AC title game to make the playoff. So I don't think it's really worth talking about.
Well, so Georgia Tech is plus 9,000, Duke is plus 2,500, and Pitt is plus 1,200. And then you slide up, and then it's Miami at plus 220, Virginia at plus 190, and SMU at plus 100. This conference is so bad that I wish they could make a petition where they just get nobody in. And what's going to be crazy is when Miami doesn't make the conference championship game and they take 2 ACC teams, even though the ACC was so bad because they put Miami in and the ACC winner. And what a damn shame that would be to leave some of these way better teams out for something like that, because Miami should have absolutely went – once they took care of business the first couple of weeks when their schedule was tough, they should have went 12-0 on this season.
Yeah,
they themselves.
It's Mario.
We talked about that every week. He's going to get it at some point, and he got him. So
I'm right there with you. If it falls like the odds are saying, so SMU gets in and probably beats Virginia, they're in. And then I think they put Miami in regardless, and that's probably going to knock down a team like Alabama out.
Yeah, that's the case where you don't get your 5 SEC schools in this year.
Yeah.
And
so if you're Alabama, you want Miami to pull like they did last year against Syracuse and just absolutely drop the ball the last week of the season, and then you don't have to worry about them.
Yes. You want Miami to melt this week.
All right.
David, you falling asleep with Thanksgiving turkey?
No, I'm just mind blown that like ACC is so bad. We're here thinking like they don't even deserve any bids at all.
They don't.
Like, at this point, it's just like, hey, like who can we send that isn't going to make a full of our conference?
None of them. Bryant, did you have anything on the G5 schools?
I did not, but I think it's fair to talk about. I really think it's down to 2 teams. I think it's North Texas or Tulane at this point.
Yeah.
That being said, they're both in the American Conference. I think they'll play each other in the American Championship game. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. I think that's correct. But anyway, the winner of that game is probably in the playoff, and then that's it. So there's really not a whole lot to talk about in the G5. North Texas and Tulane are about the only two on the board left.
I'm still pissed that Memphis dropped the ball on this because I had that wager that Memphis made the playoffs.
Yep.
God, Tulane, they had everything in front of them.
It's kind of weird. This I thought was a little bit disrespectful. Tulane is in the college football playoff rankings, and North Texas is not. I thought maybe North Texas and Tulane might be able to slide in towards the back, but they're not. So as it sits right now, and if everything falls Tulane's way, they're in the playoff. But they'll likely play each other in the American Championship game, and that's to get into the playoffs. So that might be one of the better championship games to watch next weekend. Because that one has the highest implications.
And North Texas plays Temple, I believe, and Tulane, I think, plays Charlotte. So both of these teams.
Charlotte's trash.
Yeah, that's where Dave lives. Both these teams should take care of business this week. But yeah, I do believe that they play in the American Championship. Yeah. Also, too, you know who gets a ton of disrespect? And I think they might be undefeated or have one loss, and that's James Madison. Like James Madison's currently sitting on the odds at plus 900, and they get absolutely no love. They are 10-1, and I think that there's a real chance. Their only loss is to Louisville, man.
Yeah, but have you looked at their wins?
Yeah. Actually, currently looking at it, their next best win is probably against a Washington State team who got beat by North Texas by like 60.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And they beat them by 4. So I get it. I just think that them never being brought up ever is kind of wild because I
agree with you, but it's the strength of the record, strength of schedule conversation there for sure with the least discussion with North Texas and Tulane. I probably should have brought James Madison up because they're still alive. They'd be kind of on the likely out of the G5, I think, and they would need Tulane and or North Texas to drop the ball a little bit, which is entirely possible. But I think that American Conference gets the bid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is we wanted to cover this first because this is the part of the season that we're in, and it is truly playoff conversation time. We wanted to lay out for you guys what certain teams had to do today, Friday, Saturday to make sure that they're getting the job done to make the playoffs here. So great job, Brian, on that. That was very well done because it was a ton of information, and it's a shame we couldn't get the graphics up for you. I'm going to talk about it often because we put a lot of time into making our own graphics. Obviously, we're not some big company that has people do it for us. We do it all on our own in our free time, and nothing's loading, so that sucks. You just get to watch Dave look like he just ate a 10-pound turkey and mashed potatoes this morning instead. So that was our playoff conversation, and what we're going to move into next is we're going to talk our main games that we want to talk about here. And the first one that we're going to talk about for the week is Georgia versus Georgia Tech, because that game is played at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, if I'm not mistaken. So it doesn't matter where they're playing. Georgia's going to outstrength Georgia Tech when it comes to the presence of the fan base. But that is a neutral site game. That is 2:30 p.m. on ABC. Currently sitting at Georgia minus 13.5, over under 59.5. Those odds from ESPN Bet. And so, Dave, what are you looking for in this Georgia Tech game? Obviously, last year it was an 8 overtime football game, and Georgia Tech had every chance to win it and just kind of came up short. Do you think it's anything like that this year?
I think it will end up being a close game. I think at the end of the day, Georgia's probably going to win, but I think Georgia Tech's going to hang in there. The biggest mismatch I see is Georgia's offense. I mean, it's just firing on all cylinders. I mean, Gunnar Stockton is making it happen. I was kind of skeptical about him at the beginning. And then Georgia Tech's defense is just not – they're just not – I mean, they're there. They got a pulse, but it's slight.
It's a faint pulse.
Yeah, 100%. And then Georgia Tech's – I think their big thing is, Haynes King being able to, run the ball, toss the ball. The running game is kind of like where they really, succeed. But man, Georgia can stop the run. So I think if Georgia Tech can somehow manage to run the ball against Georgia, which I highly doubt will happen, I think that's where they can be successful. Just because Malachi Hosley and Jamal Haynes, I think if they can, get some yardage, take some pressure off of Haynes King, and then Haynes King can just, be who he is. I think they can make something happen. But man, I'm really trying to be, positive here and think Georgia Tech is good. Georgia's just good, man. I mean, Georgia has. I haven't seen anything, where I think Georgia. I'm like, I don't know if they're really that good. I think Georgia's good.
Georgia
Nate
has
Frazier on the ground. Yeah, I mean, they're just talented, man. I mean, Nate Frazier on the ground, incredible. Zachariah Branch over top, can't beat it. I think it'll be a close game. Tell you what, it's either going to be like a very close game, goes maybe into overtime, or it's going to be a blowout where Georgia just absolutely blows them out. There's no in between.
Brian, what do you got?
I'm on the opposite of Dave. I don't think this game's close. The recipe's out there. If you stop Haynes King and Jamal Haynes, you win the game and by a lot. I think that's what Georgia's going to do. Kirby's going to have these guys fired up. They're not going to do what they did last year, I don't think, and have a knockdown, drag out, 8 overtime game where it's close. I think Georgia comes out and just shoves it right down their throat, and then they win the football game big.
I'm with Bryant in the sense of that I think this is a Georgia blowout because Georgia is a second half football team, and they have been beating ass in the second half. Where I think Georgia takes this game a little bit differently, as they're pissed off still about this game from last year. I think what Georgia does is they take care of business in the first half, and Georgia Tech is a team that cannot throw their way back into a victory in the second half if they're down big. So I think that's what Georgia does. I think they suffocate them early. I think they lean on them in the first half, and I think the second half they open this thing wide up. Georgia Tech has been a totally different team in the last 3 weeks and kind of lost all their playoff hopes. So everything that they were playing for, and this looked like it was going to be a big game a couple weeks ago, has kind of lost its luster. It is still a rivalry game, so anything can happen. All bets are off. But where Georgia Tech has really changed is they kept their opponents at an 80% scoring clip in the red zone. In the last 3 weeks, it is now 92%. So that is a 12% increase for their opponents to score when they make it to the red zone. That is massive margins. And Georgia Tech is successful in the red zone. Georgia Tech also giving up 510 yards per game in the last 3 games. That is not very good. The Georgia Tech team has completely lost it. Georgia's very balanced on offense. And Kirby Smart and that Georgia team are playing with that mentality where they're hyping Georgia Tech up, making them seem like they're better than they really are right now, talking about how last year they took you to 8 overtimes and tried to end your season. This is the perfect setup for Georgia to come in here and beat the absolute brakes off Georgia Tech. And I think that we do see that happen this year.
Yeah, it feels like the trajectories with these two teams are the opposite right now. Georgia Tech was good in the beginning and kind of fallen off, and Georgia Tech was good in the beginning, has fallen off, and Georgia's the opposite. They're just catching fire at the right time.
Yeah, definitely going in different directions. The next game that we want to talk about here is Texas A&M at Texas, and I think this is one of the ones that I am the most excited for, just because I do think that Texas can get them. And spoiler alert, I think Texas is going to get them. I do think this is going to happen here. So this game is 6:30 p.m. on ABC. A&M currently the betting favorite, laying 2.5 over under 52.5. Bryant, what are you looking for here?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think this is going to be a close game. This is actually a bitter rivalry when this was when Texas A&M and Texas Tech were in the Big 12, or Texas A&M, excuse me, and Texas were in the Big 12. There's a trophy for this game. Texas, I think, outside of Oklahoma, this is their second biggest rival, at least in the fan base's sense in history. In this game, A&M is going to have to bring it. Yeah, I don't think they have anything really to lose. If they lose this game, I think they're still in, and they're going to make the SEC championship game. But Texas is going to come out firing. A&M just has to do what they've been doing all season, be the balanced offense that they have been. Rely on that defense to not give up explosive plays and kind of keep them in every game. And I think they'll do that. It's going to be close. I do think A&M is going to get this one, though. That being said, it seems like Texas is leaned more and more on their offensive passing attack because they cannot run the ball, and that's the X factor in this game for me. Ken Arch Manning, he's going to have to throw for 300 and 3 or 4 touchdowns to keep them in this game because they're not going to be able to run the ball, and A&M is going to key in on this passing attack for Texas. If they can stop it, I think A&M wins.
Yeah, what I think happens here too a little bit, the only thing that scares me for Texas now in this game, because I think we have seen signs that Arch Manning has improved. I think we've seen signs that Arch Manning can consistently get some third downs if he has to, even with his legs. But this Texas defense was kind of the staple of this football team. And then they played Mississippi State 4 weeks ago, and since then they're allowing 35.25 points per game. So that's where you've seen this Texas team take a complete 180 defensively and kind of lose what was the mainstay of that football team that allowed them to stay in these football games even when Arch Manning wasn't very good. But I think in this football game, once again, it's a rivalry game. All bets are off. I think you see both these teams want this game really bad. And Texas would love nothing more than to ruin Texas A&M's football season right here. I do still think the Texas A&M with a loss here finds the playoffs. But also, if you look at Texas A&M's schedule, they have not played the hardest SEC schedule out there. Matter of fact, they've played one of the easiest. So this is a tough game for them. But I do think Texas is going to have kind of a tough time with Marcel Reed's legs. I think he is very good at extending drives. Mario Craver and Concepcion are two of the best receivers in the business in the SEC. We talk about it every single week. They're very explosive when the ball's in their hands. They're averaging 9.1 yards per pass. So I think Texas just has to limit the explosives for them to stay in this game and have a chance. And I think if this game comes down to the wire and comes down late, I think that Texas has the edge because of Marcel Reed and A&M being in their building. I think that's what gives Texas the edge over A&M late. Now, I'm not saying A&M can't come in here and blow them out because I think that can happen. But if this game stays a tight game late, I then give the edge to Texas. And that's the way I feel about this. I don't know. I just have a hunch. And I've been riding Texas's ass about how they haven't been good all season. So, and I think one of those things is A&M's red zone defense really struggles and allows their opponents to score at over 90%. And Texas is okay in the red zone once they get Arch's legs going. They weren't really good at the beginning of the season, but kind of since then they have found it. To Brian's point, they don't have much of a run game. But I think in this game, they're just looking to get out here and score a ton of points. Dave, anything that we didn't cover that you want to add?
I just don't see what you guys see from Texas. Like, I truly don't. Like, Arch Manning is not going to perform. We've seen it time and time again. When the moment gets big, he doesn't perform. We've seen it week in and week out. The run game is trash. I just don't think that. I just don't think it's going to happen, man. Like I would like. I'd like to see the Arch Manning, okay, he was trash, first 2 seasons, and he makes it happen. I love those stories. Absolutely love it. But, man, I'm at the point where I'm like, man, if I am Texas, I'm like, who can we get to transfer in? What quarterback can we get? But, again, it's not going to happen. I think a lot of it comes down to, Arch Manning does bring a lot of money to Texas because of who he is. But, again, I just feel like this is a good recipe for A&M. They're very big on those short passes. I believe 50% of their passes are 5 yards or less. And Texas is just not good at defending those short passes. It was visible against Mississippi State. It was visible against Kentucky. And I think that is where A&M is going to shine. They're just going to be fast, keep the tempo high, and just keep pounding at them. And I don't think the Texas defense is going to be able to handle that unless they have made some changes. And then that secondary is so inconsistent, man. Like, they can have some big plays, and then the next one they just absolutely fumble the bag. And I don't know, man. I don't think I'm not saying it's gonna be a blowout, but I don't see a scenario where Texas wins this game, unless Arch Manning just happens to pop us in and then just happens to just have the game of his life.
I wish you could have seen.
I've been waiting for the game of his life.
I wish you could have seen how your face was frozen too when you were talking about Texas right there.
Yeah,
I just
a lot of people don't know.
I haven't seen Arch Manning have a big game.
A lot of people don't know. Dave's got a horns down tattoo on his back.
Yeah, his dude just absolutely ripped upon Texas. I like it. No, I definitely.
No, I want man.
Bryant was with you actually. Bryant said A&M wins.
But hey, we'll see.
I just think it's closer than you think.
Shootout.
Yeah. Hey, Dave, you are lagging a little bit for a second, so we're going to – I don't know if you can hear us or not, but we're going to move on to the Ohio State-Michigan game, and that game is at 11 a.m. on Saturday on Fox. Also, I didn't say this, I don't think, but the last 2 games that we talked about, the A&M game and the Georgia game, those are both on Friday. Now we're talking about Saturday with Ohio State and Michigan. This game right here, I think a lot of people are hyping this game up. And I think there are a lot of people are hyping this game up. Obviously, it's one of the biggest rivals in college football. But I think it's getting more hype due to the fact that Ohio State has lost the last 4 of these. I think that has a lot to do with why this game is getting so hyped up. Bryant, do you think there's any chance in hell that Michigan gets it done for the 5th straight season?
Man, they've just had their number in this game. Like you said, they've won the last 4. I thought last year was a lock for Ohio State, and it wasn't. Personally, I just don't think Michigan's going to get it done this season. I think Ohio State's just that good. Yes, it's at the big house in Ann Arbor, but man, Ohio State's just a juggernaut, and I don't think Ryan Day is going to let them fumble this one like they have in the past. But very similar scenario to last season. Ohio State was a massive favorite. Everybody thought they were going to roll Michigan, and Michigan came into their place and won. So if Ryan Day gets his boys playing, they haven't really been tested. They've kind of just been the best team and rolled through the first 11 weeks, not really having to worry about much. But this is a game they need to worry about. I don't think this is a Michigan team that's world beaters by any means, but they have guys on this team that can get it done. Like Bryce Underwood, I think he's the X factor in this game. He's going to have to carry this team to a victory. I just don't see it. I think Ohio State's going to come. They're going to lean on their defense, stopping Michigan, and they're going to put up some points and win this football game. I think Ohio State gets the monkey off their back this year.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I think Bryce Underwood is truly the X factor in this game. Being a freshman on a big-time stage, if he can step up and make big-time throws and extend drives, because that's what Michigan's going to do. That's been their recipe when they play Ohio State. It's been their recipe when they play most teams. Run the shit out of the ball, limit the other team's possessions, keep the ball in your hands for the majority of the game, and just try to score a few more points than the other team. And that's what Ohio State needs to understand coming into this one. Is like last year I remember we reviewed this game and we're like, dude, is Ryan Day the dumbest coach that there is? Because he tries to get way too cute. He tries to play bully ball against Michigan and get away from what their whole entire offensive game plan has been all season. Dude, you have the best receiving core in college football. Trust it. Throw the football 35 times in this game. Who cares? Run the score up. This is a year where they beat you the last 4. Run the score up this year. Beat Michigan by 28 points because you have the ability to do that. But to Brian's point, Ohio State hasn't really had to ramp it up and get too serious since like the first week when they played Texas. Outside of that, they've had a pretty soft schedule for the most part, so they haven't had to pull all the things out of a bag. They did play Washington, but they just kind of cruised. They took their foot off the gas and just kind of rolled to a victory. One thing that's big for Michigan in this game is Jordan Marshall's back. He is a very good running back for this Michigan team. They're going to need him if they're going to have any chance in this, so I'm glad they're doing that. Also, on the flip side of this for Michigan, their defense loves to blitz. And the problem with that against Ohio State is Julian Sand is very, very good at taking what the defense gives him. He has a very high completion rate, and they have very good receivers that everybody knows about. So all Julian Sand's going to do at that point when Michigan blitzes a ton is you have one-on-one with your receivers. He's going to trust Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith to go make a play and get the job done. So I think that this is setting up for what can be an Ohio State blowout. Once again, though, who knows what's really going to happen in a rivalry football game such as this one. Dave, is there anything we left to for you on this one?
No, man. I mean, I think, to your point, where Michigan can really, where they normally tend to be successful is running the ball, but Justice Haynes is out, and the whole running game is banged up, and I just think Ohio State's rush defense is just too good to let that happen. So I'm with you. I think it's going to be a blowout.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know if you can still hear us, Dave. We're kind of losing you there a little bit. But the next game that we're going to talk about here is Miami at Pitt. And this is – Brian talked about this in the beginning of our episode. This is 2 teams that do have a little bit of hope to make the playoffs still. 2 teams that need some things to happen and go their way. So this game is 11 a.m. on ABC. This game is at Pitt. Bryant, in this football game, which Carson Beck do we get? Which Mason Heischel do we get? Because both these quarterbacks have shown massive variances that allow their team to be 2 different type of teams.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. This is going to be one of the better games of the weekend. I feel like you said, that Miami and Pitt both have a shot. I think Miami's is better, but Pitt has played better football, I feel like, more consistently this season once that Mason Heichel came in. But I think Miami has looked better recently after that SMU loss a few weeks back. So this game's going to be close. I think it's a turnover battle. Who can limit the bad plays and the turnovers and control the clock and everything. And I think Pitt's my gut tells me Pitt's going to take this one and Miami's going to Miami this week. But seems like maybe Cristobal has kind of put that narrative to bed a little bit this season. He hasn't made quite the boneheaded calls, and Miami hasn't shot themselves in the foot that much this season besides maybe the SMU game. So I think he's going to have them coming in playing. Carson Beck has been taking care of the ball better as of late, and they've been leaning on that defense like they should have all season. This is going to be a close game. Pitt's going to have to put up a lot of points, I feel like, to stay up right there with Miami. But it's going to be a close one. My gut tells me to take Pitt in this one, but who knows with Miami, man.
Well, I think, too, that we talked about a second ago. If Carson Beck takes care of the football, Miami doesn't lose. If Carson Beck throws a few interceptions, they literally don't win. That has been the recipe for Miami this whole entire season. I'm with you, man. I think this is another one of those scenarios where Mario Cristobal just comes up short. One stat that I found very interesting to me, and it's kind of a stat that you can't put too much into, but when the other quarterback that you're facing throws quite a bit of interceptions, I'm going to lean into it. Pitt is the number 2 team in the country at pick sixes. Carson Beck loves throwing him some interceptions. So I'm going to lean into that stat a little bit and maybe say that I get a Pitt interception at some point. And maybe they don't take it to the house, but they put me in plus territory if I'm Pitt. And I think they need to rely on that a little bit. I think this spread's too big. The spread was currently sitting at Miami minus 6.5 and over under a 50.5. And I do like Pitt at that number. I really do. If you can get it to 7, you may see this come up on our Book It segment later, that we buy that hook and get it to 7 and roll with Pitt, because they are a different team since Heichel's been the quarterback. So I'm anxious to see how this one plays out. I want Miami to lose mainly because I don't want to see Miami in the playoffs. And that sucks because, once again, Miami has something that they're the best at in the country. I think I've said this for, what week is it, 14? I think I've said this since week 2, that Miami has the best trenches, best lines of scrimmage in the country. Once again, Mario Cristobal is going to screw something up where, like last year, they had the best offense in the country. You don't get the job done. This year, you're going to have the best lines of scrimmage in the country. Not going to get the job done. So I think that is what I want to see, is Pitt win this football game. Dave, we had you lagging pretty bad here. Is there anything that you want to add real quick before you get the robot voice going?
Yeah, man. I think Miami has everything going in their favor to win this game. But again, it's Mario Cristobal. If it was any other coach, who knows? But I don't know if you guys, if I'm still robot-y here, but
No, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, Pitt. I think one of the biggest things is Carson Beck has no mobility, and if you just apply the pressure to him, I think he'll cave. But I don't think Pitt will apply the pressure. On the backside, Mason Heichel has been sacked 26 times since week 6. So
we talked about that an episode ago about how he holds onto the football too long. That's one thing that he does. Is he does not get the ball out of his hands.
And I think that's where Miami can be successful too. I mean, like I said, I think everything is a recipe for Miami to win this game, but it's Mario Cristobal. Pitt's probably going to blow him out.
Yeah, Miami needs Ruben Bain to step up in this one. He's kind of been – he hasn't been the guy. Like, he was the number 1 overall pick. Like, he's got Heisman chance, all this. He hasn't really been that dude. He's been solid, but he's got to step up and get 2 or 3 in this game, sacks.
Yeah, and he definitely can. Hey, also, too, just to come in here, everybody with this, thanks for rocking with us on Thanksgiving morning. This is awesome. We wanted to do this for you guys because we wanted to make sure we got it all out here. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, telling your friends, especially if they're at home making a little Thanksgiving meal this morning. Tell them to kick us on in the background and listen to us get going here. But, yeah, no, you guys are 100% correct. Also, I forgot to look, and I'm pretty sure he is. Desmond Reed's out for this game still, right, for Pitt?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
I'll check that.
They need to just lean into Kenny Johnson again. Throw it up to him. Pitt does. Let him continue to be the number 1. Also, Nolan's not with us this morning, but he comes in here, and everybody that follows our show, everybody knows that Nolan loves him some Pitt. He's been talking about Pitt for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and Nolan's saying Pitt's going to be the ACC champ. So that tells me that Nolan's got Pitt winning this football game. Leon coming in here saying that he's rooting for Miami. So we got a little battle in the chat between Pitt and Miami. And I think either one of these teams win, they can be in a good spot to go ahead and make the playoffs. Brian, did you find that? Is Desmond Reed out?
It doesn't really I don't think they put him on designation yet. Let me look.
Okay. Well, while you do that, we'll roll right into this next one. Let us know on that if you find anything. Vanderbilt at Tennessee. This game's 2:30 p.m. Saturday on ESPN. Tennessee -2.5, over under 65.5. This game is kind of setting up to be a shootout, and the over-under is representing that. It's replicating that they think both these teams are going to get up and ramp up and score some points. I do think that both these teams will be able to do that because neither one of these defenses are very good. I know there was a talk at the beginning, through the middle of the season, that people thought Vanderbilt's defense was pretty good and they were able to get in there and limit teams to some lower points. I was never a believer in that, still not really a believer in that. This Tennessee defense allows damn near 30 points per game. That's horrible, especially when you're in the SEC. It's not going to get the job done. Both these offenses get to 500 yards per game damn near every week. So, this is truly an offensive showdown. We know Joey Aguilar loves throwing the ball up and letting his receivers make a play down the field. They're all about explosive plays. They live and die by that. They're not the real slow, methodical driving team. They are truly reliant upon explosive plays. And Vanderbilt at times loves the explosive plays, but they can slow it down a little bit and get them methodical drives, get it to 3rd and short, let Pavia use his legs, pick up a first down when it's 3rd and 3. And we know, too, that Pavia loves the big stage. I'll give him that. Usually when the moment gets pretty big, he does shine. I'll give him that, Dave. So it's not all negative things for me when it comes to Pavia. This game for Pavia is probably going to shape up to be one of the biggest games of his career. I'm not saying he's going to perform at that level, but when you look at the whole entire situation where they have to win to have a chance to make the playoffs, he's still trying to make a late Heisman push. Is this his last regular season game of his career because he's trying to come back again, last I read, which surely doesn't happen. But this is the biggest moment for Diego Pavia, in my opinion, in his career, and I'm anxious to see how he does perform in it. Also, same for Joey Aguilar. All those things can be said about him as well. So what happens here, I'm not really sure, but I'm going to go ahead and let Dave go because we know this is his team, and then we'll let Bryant clean this thing up.
Dude, honestly, you kind of covered everything. I was thinking, I think this is kind of that game for Diego Pavia where it's like, all right, dude, you keep making that push for being a Heisman guy. If you come into this game, you put up crazy numbers, and you just ball out, and Vanderbilt just absolutely demolishes Tennessee. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. Again, Tennessee, because Vanderbilt technically has a chance to make a playoff, so Pavia could really, if he has a hell of a game, they blow out Tennessee, looks good for them playoffs-wise. Tennessee has no shot at making the playoffs, so they're just really here to ruin the season. They're just here hey, it's our last game, let's ruin it for them. But at the same time, Diego Pavia is at his peak. I mean, his last game was incredible. And in his eyes, he knows that, if he wants to, I don't think he will win the Heisman, but in his eyes, he has to make that last final push to try to make, increase his odds. But, again, I think it's just going to be a shootout. Pavia and Joey Aguilar are just going to have fun with it, and hopefully this is a high-scoring game.
This could be whoever has the ball last wins the football game type thing.
Yeah, no, 100%, literally 100%. 100%.
Brian, what else you got on this?
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the Navy North Texas up a few weeks ago where, me and Colin and Nolan talked about how whoever gets a stop in this game is going to win the football game. So I think Vanderbilt's defense is better than Tennessee's, personally. They've kind of slid down the hill a little bit in the past month or so, but they're still really good defense, I think. But they're going to have to stop. Brazel, Aguilar is really good. Tennessee's been getting the ball going on the run, with the run as well. So yeah, this is going to be a shootout. I think Tennessee will win. Them being at home kind of helps, and Pavia struggles a little bit on the road. But Pavia is going to give it all out, like you guys said, and he's going to try to do his best to win this football game. And I think it will be close, but I think Tennessee's got the edge a little bit, being at home and having more of that experience in these type of games and playing a little better football as of late as well, I think. So I think Tennessee gets this one, but it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, Tennessee has to rush from the outside in. That's been the recipe to slow down Pavia. Don't let him get outside and use his legs. Make him scramble up the middle where you have more defensive players that can get in there and make a play. They take that recipe, I think they'll be okay. But, yeah, their defense is suspect. I'll be honest about that.
Tennessee's the recipe with Vandy, and we saw it. Mizzou did it. A few other teams did it. If you make Diego throw from the pocket, not get out, throw from the pocket, you win the football game.
Yep. Mizzou just couldn't score points to win the football game. But, yeah, that's the recipe. That is the recipe. You are correct. All right, so that's all for us on our main game. We have 3 quickies here for you. Still some rivalry games that we want to touch on a little bit. Oh, Brian's got something.
I looked up the Desmond Reed thing. So weird, ACC does not post their injury reports till 8 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. So we'll find out this week. But that being said, looking on the Twitter sphere, I don't think he's going to play this week.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think he was going to either. Dave, I think Dave was talking to his family there. I'm not sure, but he was throwing up some hand signals, not knowing what he's got going on there. Hey, okay, so moving on to our quickie segment. The first one we'll talk about is LSU at Oklahoma. Brian, is this one yours?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Okay, LSU at Oklahoma. This game's 2:30 on ABC. That game is on Saturday as well. And Oklahoma minus 10.5, over under 36.5. This game could be like watching paint dry. So, Bryant, what do you have here?
Yeah, LSU, I think they're solely focused on their next coach. I don't think they're going to care in this game. They've kind of mailed it in this season, it seems like. Oklahoma's going to lean on their defense like we saw last week and weeks before. John Mateers is going to have to take care of the ball, put together some drives and score some points. I think whoever gets to 17 or 21 points wins this game.
Yeah, and I think, too, Van Buren playing at quarterback again for LSU this week, right? I'm with you. They have turned the page, and they are looking on to next season. That's all there is to it in this one. The next game on the quickie segment is Ole Miss at Mississippi State. This one is mine. This game is Friday, 11 a.m., Ole Miss minus 7.5, over under 62.5. This game's another one where the odds makers are thinking this game gets up and scores a ton of points. I can believe that because I don't think Ole Miss's defense is all that great. Been talking about it all season, and I know Mississippi State's defense is not great. So I do think, too, that Mississippi State, though, is an okay enough team to upset Ole Miss, especially with all the Lane Kiffin conversation going on right now. And that there's a ton of fans out there that of Ole Miss that are just absolutely mind-boggled that this is truly happening, that he's coaching a team that is making a playoff push and really talking about leaving his team in the middle of this football season. Absolutely crazy. And I think that doesn't help Ole Miss. And when you sprinkle that this game is at Mississippi State, doesn't help Ole Miss. I think that Ole Miss is the much better offense, and they have a lot more to play for. But in this Egg Bowl, you cannot tell me that Mississippi State would love nothing more than to completely shut down everything Ole Miss is playing for. And I think they would look at it as if they beat them, they would look at it as they're the reason that Lane Kiffin ends up packing his bags and heading out of Ole Miss. So that's kind of what I want to see, man. We love the crazy upsets. We love for things to get a little dicey. Ole Miss plays with a little bit of arrogance here and may get caught with their pants down. But Ole Miss is the better team. This is just an interesting matchup, as the Egg Bowl always is, every single year. The next one that we have here, I think this is going to be Dave's. Dave's going to go on this one. Is Oregon at Washington. Once again, bear with me for just a second. Lost our graphic that had all our information on it, so I got to find it. Oregon at Washington, 2:30 p.m., CBS. Oregon minus 6.5, over under 51.5. Dave, give it to us quick.
Man, yeah. I mean, I think the only thing Washington has going for them in this game is the fact that it's in Seattle. Other than that, everything indicates Oregon. I mean, Oregon and Dante Moore are just incredible. Dante Moore is just an animal. And then Oregon's defense can stop those explosive plays that Washington tends to rely on. So I don't think they're successful there. They could definitely stop the run game. And Washington also really depends on the run game. On games that they don't score at least 150 rush yards, they've lost every game this year. And Oregon's only allowed about 100 rushing yards. And again, this is their last game. They're probably going to bring out all the stops. So I just think Oregon is going to comfortably win this one. If you would have asked at the beginning of the year, I would have said, wow, this is going to be an incredible matchup. Washington's probably going to, perform. But I think Washington will kind of hold on for the first maybe the first quarter. Then after that, it's just going to kind of go downhill, and Oregon's just going to run with this one.
Yep, can totally see that as well. Washington kind of a letdown at times. All right, so what we have left here for us is our Book It segment. And Bryant and I always make the joke that when we bring the Book It segment up, we're going to blow away Nolan or Dave, whoever's with us, because every time they tag along for this part, they have been bad luck. And we believe in all of those things here. So we're going to get rid of Dave for just a minute, blow him away from the screen, and talk just Bryant and I about what plays that we have for the Book It segment this week. Hey, right now we are 75 and 79. We've been scratching and clawing all season. It's been a hell of a ride. I've gone out and looked at a lot of other podcasts and shows and kind of what they're doing as well. Like, because last year we were so good. This year it's been pretty hard, we felt like, and we've had some of the worst beats you could ever imagine. We've had teams knee it on the one instead of going in for the touchdown to cover for us. We've had teams throw pick sixes with 10 seconds left to beat us. I mean, we've had a team not score 3 points in the second half to get us. I mean, we've
safeties out the end zone.
We've had everything you could ever imagine go wrong. So I did some homework, did some research on what everybody else has got going on. And I would say that of probably the 7-8 shows and podcasts I checked out to see what their betting records are, I would say there was only 1 to 2 that had a positive record, and it was by like 3-4 games at the most. So I think everybody is kind of battling this season. So 75 and 79, that's a lot of games that we bet on, man. That is like, what's my math? That's 154 bets that we've put in, and I don't feel terrible about it. So last week 7 and 6, and we're looking to go ahead and win some money this week. So I'm going to throw it up on the stage for us here, and Bryant and I are going to talk through these. This is what's crazy about this too, Bryant, is we didn't even purposely put, I think, 13 plays on it this week. We just talked about 13 plays that we liked, and we ended up with 13 again, I believe, here.
Yeah, 13 is our magic number. It seems like 7-6 at least.
Yeah, 7 and 6 is where we feel the best at. So you know how we do things here. We shop the books, buy the hooks. We find the best lines that we can. And also don't forget, for all of you that listen in Missouri, we are, 4 days away, December 1st,
Monday,
from being able to shop all the books and really make sure that you're getting the best lines and buying the hooks on all these sites.
On that note, real quick, I just want to, if you see all these commercials now coming out with FanDuel and whoever, DraftKings, whoever, if you're wanting to get involved with the sports betting, first I would check and make sure you know what you're doing, because you are gambling real money. On those sites, they're offering a lot of free bets right now. So if you're wanting to get in, you can kind of get your feet wet for free. So check that out. I know you probably tune out on all those commercials that have been pouring in the last month about Missouri and sports betting, but take advantage of that if you want to get your feet wet. And you're not going to be able to do it for this week, but starting championship weekend in the future, you're going to be able to join the fun. I
think with that, though, correct me if I'm wrong, Bryant. I think if, like, let's say a lot of them are like bet $5, get $300 in credits.
Correct.
I think for you to like withdraw money out of that account, you can't bet $5, get $300 and withdraw that $300 that they give you. So you have to gamble that $300, I believe.
Correct. And it won't come out in $300. You'll be like 25. It'll be like 8 $25 bonus bets or something like that. So you can't go bet 300 on a minus 400 favorite and then cash out.
Yeah.
So you can't just go get it. It's not free $300. You still have to win the money, and you can't just put it all in one either. So I see why they do it, but it's still fun. You're getting $300 in free bets. Not to worry about anything. So 100%. To throw that in there. Pay attention to the commercials and try to take advantage of what you can get for free before you start putting your own money in there.
Yeah, when the Book It segment 75 and 79 and you got 4 games upside down, you're upside down 4 units. That's not your money. You ain't got to worry about it. You're gambling with your money. So the first play that we're going to talk about here, you know how Brian and I do it. We're going to alternate here and talk through this. So the first play that we have for you here is Iowa at Nebraska. We're going to lay in with Iowa. Iowa -5. This line got bought down. I think it opened up a couple points higher. And if we can get Iowa at -5, it's had at 6.5, 6 most of the week. Checked it last night. Iowa -5. Love this play. Iowa definitely has more to play for than Nebraska at this point. Nebraska without Dylan Raiola. Give me Iowa -5. Book it.
Yeah, on this game real quick, there's been a lot of news come out this week about Nebraska and Raiola's future and everything. So we'll pay attention to that and talk about that in an off-season episode. But I love that play. Iowa's -5. Next one we're going to talk about San Diego State at New Mexico. We got San Diego State almost a pick 'em, but they're a -1 favorite. We're going to take San Diego State -1 on the road in New Mexico. San Diego State has played very well the last 2 months or so. I think they're the much better team in this game, so we're going to roll with them -1 on the road.
Ohio State at Michigan. We talked on this a little bit earlier. Ohio State has way more to play for, way more to prove, way more chip on their shoulder. They're pissed off. It is time for Ohio State to come in here and beat that ass. Ohio State -9. Book it. And I'm here to tell you right now, if Ryan Day doesn't cover this spread, it'll be the last bet you ever see this show ever place on Ohio State. There's no reason they don't kick that ass.
This is a banless game for Ohio State for us. The next one we're talking about, Miami at Pitt. We are taking the home team, the Pitt Panthers, at +7 in this game. We think their defense is going to get it done, maybe get a pick 6 or something that they're so good at doing. So we're rolling with Pitt +7.
Yeah, this plays for Nolan. Nolan's trying to convince us all to believe that that Pitt is the ACC champion, and it has to happen in this game first. Love that play. Vanderbilt at Tennessee. Dave's not going to love this one, but it's okay because we got Dave a little hidden right now. We're going to take Tennessee -2 and lay the 2 with Tennessee. We just don't think that Vanderbilt truly can get over this hump right here at the end. I think Pavia's arrogance gets to him a little bit in this game, and Tennessee wants nothing more than to shut down Vanderbilt right here to end the season. Tennessee -2, lay them, book it.
Next one we got is Mizzou at Arkansas. We're rolling with our hometown Tigers -2 in this game on the road in Fayetteville. Arkansas cannot stop absolutely anybody on defense. Think it's going to give the opportunity for a struggling Mizzou offense to score some points. Mizzou's defense is going to have to step up because Arkansas can score points, but I think they're going to do that. We're going to roll with Mizzou -2 on the road in Fayetteville.
To prove that we're not biased, I think this is only the second time this season that we bet on Mizzou in our book it segment. Mm-hmm. So Mizzou -2 like this a lot because, to your point, Arkansas can't stop a nosebleed on defense. Mizzou struggles scoring, but if I do think they can score on Arkansas, and I do think Mizzou's defense is good enough to slow down Arkansas's offense. They got a little quarterback question going on there. They can't find a head coach. People are passing up on them left and right. Mizzou -2, lay it like that. Wake Forest at Duke. This line, I shopped 5 books last night on this line. This proves my point. You have to shop the books because you go to one site and it's Duke -1.5. You go to 2 other sites, it's Duke +1.5. So what do we do at that point? We buy the hook and we get Duke +2. Duke, we believe, is the much better team than Wake Forest. Wake Forest has played out of their mind. They had great coaching so far this season in his first year there, but Duke +2, book it.
Next one, we got Houston at Baylor. Houston's been up and down all season, but Baylor's been struggling as of late after a hot offensive start to the season. So we're going to take Houston on the road against Baylor, Houston +3.
Iowa State at Oklahoma State. Man, Iowa State's been a team, Bryant, that we've talked about endlessly. They've had some real variances going on so far in this season. Yeah. Oklahoma State, though, is one of the worst teams in the Power 4, if not the worst team in the Power 4. So Iowa State needs to come in here in this rivalry game that they call it and absolutely pack their lunch. Give us Iowa State -14, lay them, book it.
Next one we have is Texas Tech at West Virginia. Originally this was on the segment, then it was off because it shot up to like 26 or 27 points, but now it's kind of back down to where it started, and we like it right here. So we're taking Texas Tech on the road against West Virginia. Texas Tech -22.
UCLA at USC. Like the number where it's at right here at USC -20. That kind of covers you a little bit. You get in there, they win by 3 touchdowns. They win by 21. Like where this is at. UCLA is just a really bad football team yet again. They kind of rode a high for about 3 weeks, and they have came crashing back down to earth at a rapid pace. Some quarterback injuries. Give us USC -20. Book it.
Next one we have is UNLV at Nevada. UNLV kind of struggled a little bit the past few weeks, but they picked it up last week. Got back on track. Dan Mullen's got them playing pretty good football. We're taking them on the road at Nevada, UNLV -7.
The only thing that scares me with this play, Brian, is I feel like this line should be like 13.5, 14.5 points. Something smells a little fishy here, and what Brian and I always talk about is if it smells fishy, get away from it. But they hook, line, sinkered us on this one because UNLV is a much better team than Nevada. So
some of these lines this week, I mean, it's rivalry week. It's all over the place. Some of these lines seem fishy.
Yes.
But that's just how it is in this week every year.
Oh, yeah, and at this point, we're going for it. We're going for it all. This is the last week of the regular season. We're not making 13 picks. Also, too, with that, we do continue our Book It segment through bowl season, through the playoffs. We ride it all the way. So this isn't the end for us. Last play of the week for us, Fresno State at San Jose State. This is another one of those that's a little smelly. Fresno State -2, lay them, book it. The problem with that is San Jose State is absolute dog shit, and Fresno State seems to have a really good job at covering in football games here as of late. So this line is a little stinky, but we're going to get hook, line, sinker on this one too. Fresno State -2, book it.
I was doing a little reading on this. This is a bitter rivalry.
Oh, hate each other, dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I don't really know why, but they hate each other.
This is one of the longest tenured rivalries too. Apparently, I didn't really realize it, but I was like, man, I saw some Twitter beef on this game, and I was like, I dug into it a little bit. Man, this is a bitter rivalry.
For sure. Hey, I'm going to shed a tear here just a little bit because that was the last regular season Book It play for us this season. Crazy.
Wild.
I know. That's just sad right there. But hey,
it was a good week this week.
But today is the day to give thanks for the Book It segment, right? We're going to give thanks to winning some money this week on Deep Threat Sports Network. So anybody that followed along with us this morning, we know it's Thanksgiving. We know you guys are busy, but we wanted to give it to you this morning because we didn't know what our schedule looked like the rest of the way this week, and we wanted to get out ahead of some of these games that are played today, played tomorrow. So thanks for joining with us. We love having you guys in here. Had pretty good activity in there in there today. We could see kind of who's like viewing us and who's jumping in and out. So thanks for rocking with us. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, telling your friends. Also, everybody, have a good Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. We appreciate everybody that rocks with us here. So we just want to give thanks to you guys for being with us all the time. We do have quite a few loyal listeners, and for that, we are very appreciative. So with all that being said, make sure that you're getting your eyes on the TV this week because it's rivalry week. And like Bryant broke down in the beginning of this episode, there's a lot that can change and a lot that can happen. A lot of teams with a lot of things at stake, and it only takes one hiccup for them to be gone for the rest of the season. Bryant, anything else from you?
No, I hope everybody has a good holiday, and looking forward to 2 solid days of football, Friday and Saturday.
Absolutely. Hey, appreciate you all. That's Bryant. I'm Colin. Dave is no longer here. We did kind of set him aside here, and he jumped out because his Wi-Fi was pretty shitty, but that's okay. We appreciate him getting in here with us this morning, especially while he's traveling and got the family with him. So, hey, this is Deep Threat Sports Network. You can follow us on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Deep Threat Sports, X, DT_sports_, Facebook, Deep Threat Sports Network. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Until next time, peace.